The infamous box. People in all fields have listened to these 4 words ad nauseum. Think outside the box. This phrase is thrown around in meetings all over the world, where people are trying to find unusual ways of approaching a task or solving a problem. After years working on creative fields, there was always something about that phrase that rubbed me the wrong way. The counter-argument, "there is no box," has a nicer ring to it, implying that by creating the box, we are imposing limits on creativity. After some exposure to meditation, I finally found why the wording of the phrase is a bit confusing. I believe it's extremely hard to be creative through thinking alone. Let me explain. The mind is a great tool. However, doesn't it have limitations because it can only operate within the limits of what it knows? If the mind uses learned information to create, wouldn't it be hard for it to create new ideas? Now, let's go back to meditation. I think meditation can help the mind be more creative in order to go beyond the limits of the so-called box. Let's take mindful breathing, for example. You give the mind something to occupy itself with, in this case, the breath. The mind will, of course, lose itself in thoughts, because that's what the mind does. But through practice, you slowly train it to keep its attention on the breath. Eventually, the mind starts quieting down, and you start sensing a kind of silence. The mind is not making up stories to tell you, so there is nothing to listen to. You are now in a place without concepts or ideas. I do believe that at this point, you start dissolving the boundaries of the box. Now, it is not during meditation that I get ideas to solve any problems, because I'm not technically thinking, but through this practice, I found my mind becomes more malleable. Strong ideas about things having to be a certain way, concepts that my mind held so dear, start becoming less rigid. I found that the byproduct of this is that my perspective opens up a little bit. My abilities for abstraction and mixing emotions and sensations with images and sounds becomes easier, and I find more unusual ways of perceiving the world. What I think happens is that when thoughts become less solid, ideas become more malleable, and the mind can expand its previous creative limitations. So I see the box as the mind, and meditation a way to start dissolving the borders of that box. I believe that by dissolving the patterns of thinking, the box loses its rigid nature, and only then can creativity reach new levels.